Hello. In the last speech I gave, I talked about a method that guarantees one, especially one running for office, to be able to convince everyone that they are telling the truth, regardless of not if they actually are. There have been a few criticisms about what I have said, and I will address these comments here. The first counter-argument I will address is one that I have heard from a few people, and it is that the method I told is invalid because of the fact that this method has been and is still being used by people and politicians every day, but yet still they are found out to be liars. Now, while yes, this is partly true in a way, I disagree with this statement. While yes, the people who say this are correct in the matter that this method has been and is practiced daily, and there are still liars, but does not disprove the method. Now, the method I talked about uses Aristotle's three categories of persuasion to convince one's audience that he or she is telling the truth. So naturally, this method has been used for a very long time, but it doesn't mean just because there is liars who use this means of the method and found out to be liars makes the method invalid. An excellent example I can use to show what I mean is that of former President Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton, when running for office, was well liked, hence why he won the election against Bush with a considerable amount of more votes. Now, all went well for Clinton until the infamous scandal with Monica Lewinsky, where his public image was thrown into the gutter, and he was caught lying, leading to his impeachment. Now, Bill, like many politicians, used the method I talked about well, I might add, but then broke one of the rules. This rule being that one has to be credible and likable, which Clinton clearly broke when he had the affair with Monica Lewinsky. Now, what this means is simple. The method does in fact work as we saw it works with Clinton when he was running for office, and we see all the time with other politicians. The problem is not the method, but the people. All cases that we see of politicians being found out to be liars were not doomed by the method, but merely doomed by themselves. If Clinton or any other politician who was found out to be a liar actually followed and performed the method properly, then I assure you, they would have never been found to be a liar. So, the notion that this method is invalid is simply absurd, with the proof I have just given defending it. Another argument I have heard people say about my speech and the method is that everyone knows the method, and as such, everyone can see right through it. So when a politician uses the method, it does nothing but hurt them, as the trick doesn't work. Now, this I will have to completely disagree with, and let me explain why. The reasoning behind this logic, that once the trick is found out, then the trick is no more, is just silly. I mean, if this was the case, then magicians would have been out of businesses decades ago. While, yes, many people do in fact know this method, after all, I stated it was invented many, many years ago. It still works. Some might be able to see through this method, but the masses won't, as we can clearly see even to this day on how many people are convinced by politicians. Once again, another notion trying to disprove the method was, well, disproven. Now, the last comment I have heard regarding the method is that I have no significant proof that the method works, even when done properly by liars, making people to believe them. To those who say this, I will have to agree. I do not have any evidence of a liar using this method so well that they have convinced everyone that they are not lying. Now, while yes, many will say that this proves the method invalid, this is not true. For I, or anyone else for that matter, will never be able to provide evidence, because if a liar used this method successfully, then we would never know the liar lied. Once again, I have proven this method works. Now, after disproving all of these comments, it is clear that the method works, and everyone listening should believe that because there are no other legitimate points to be made against the method.